Yeah, let's talk news and notes around baseball. I talked to AJ Preller over the weekend. Unique phone call. AJ did not agree with some things I've said on this podcast, which is okay. And we just talked about where the franchise is and the fact that business is not complete. Padres opened spring training camp on Tuesday, and the Padres have gone into the marketplace looking for rentals. But in terms of trades, it was impressed upon me that they don't need to make a trade, that they don't have to trade Dylan Cease, and they don't have to trade Luis Arise. But as normal course of the way AJ Preller does business is Preller talks to everybody about everything. So trade names always come up in the conversation. He says we could open the season with this group and see if we are in a chase for first place. We could play this way and put ourselves in a position to be a top team in the playoffs and then face these other teams in short series. Now, that being said, if they keep this payroll the way it is, and their payroll now is probably, I want to say, 218 to 220, they're going to be paying enormous amounts of salary to try to stay in the pennant race. And the luxury tax, as AJ confirmed to me, does not get configured till October 1st. But they're going to have to pay all those salaries on the 1st and 15th, which means their payroll is going to be high. Their payroll with the recent additions they just had is probably knocking at the door at 218 to 220. Or they want to pay 218 to 220 in payroll for the entire season to hope they can be in the National League playoffs. But if you keep it there, that means you're going to have a salary tax bill at the end of the bill, at the end of the season. So if they can start with what they have, they get to the trade deadline and it's not going, then maybe they just get these guys off the roster. But they don't have to make trades right now. That was impressed upon me by the general manager. And now we got the rent-a-vet situation. And this is kind of unique. The Padres, in a span of about 28 hours, signed 3 more veterans. Connor Joe, former Rocky and Pirate left fielder, first baseman, 240-ish hitter, little bit of power, good, solid player. Star? Hell no. Jason Heyward, at one time a really highly regarded outfielder with power. Good career, Atlanta Braves, big contributor, Chicago Cubs. He was with 2 teams last season, hit 211, has got a lot of miles on him, but a real strong clubhouse presence. And they just signed Gavin Sheets, who was a former high draft pick of the White Sox. Younger guy, affordable, got power, strikes out a lot. He can play outfield, he can play first base, but he's not proven he hit major league pitching with any success at all. They've invited it's now 28 non-roster guys, including a whole laundry list of guys that we've talked about in the past. I'm going to be intrigued to see what they get with this young pitcher, Joe Espada, who was in Japan, used to be with the St. Louis Cardinals. Is he going to be able to forge his way onto this pitching staff? He's had some success. And then obviously the catcher with the glove doesn't have a bat. Martin Maldonado is part of that non-roster invitee group. They got Elias Diaz, former All-Star Colorado Rocky, can hit a little bit, not a great defensive guy, but he was here at the end of last season. So the Padres at this point are who they are on the roster, are telling me they don't need to make a trade, that they can start the season and be in the pennant race with what they have. But by the end of the season, I don't know that they're going to have all these guys here, because that means a luxury tax payment if the payroll stays at 218 to 220. And as AJ confirmed, luxury tax bill does not get configured till October 1st. So we'll see. So, John, there's a lot of different layers here in my conversation with AJ. Give me your reaction to what you just heard.
That's awesome. AJ called you. I mean, did he offer you a job? Did he ask you any advice on what to do with the team?
AJ called me out. He did not like the commentary I made about being in denial. Well, they have their own opinion about the way they're doing the business, and that's great. But let's understand, the community has an opinion. You haven't done anything. And even signing these 3 free agents at Dollar General this past weekend doesn't change the community's look at your team. But the fact he did come out and publicly say, we don't have to make a trade. We can start the season with the guys we have, and we'll run this race and see where you are at the trade deadline, July 31st, see if we're in the playoffs in August or October. But the salary cap bill, there's going to be a luxury tax bill at the end, so he couldn't really answer that. And by the way, he did want to clarify one thing. I had made the comment that I was stunned at FanFest when he and Mike Schultz sat up there and they talked to the people in the stadium. He did not talk to the media, which is very unorthodox because every manager and every general manager meets with the media on their FanFest day, whether that's at Dodger Stadium and that's in Pittsburgh or wherever. And his response to me was, well, they didn't schedule it. His PR people didn't schedule it. That seems like a cop-out to me. But he said he's going to meet with the media over in Peoria this week, and I'm sure he will. And he will get tough questions there because PR gets the blame for not scheduling him to meet during FanFest because he would have gotten tough questions there. But it was great. We exchanged. He answered some questions off the record, gave me some background about the luxury tax and how they configure. There's different levels of luxury tax that go into the equation. So it's interesting. But at the end of the day, what's the word? Well, I used the word they shop at Dollar General. And they got 3 more guys on the Dollar General bookshelves this week. So I don't know whether Connor Joe can be a difference maker or Jason Heyward has any gas left in the tank or somebody unlocks the mystery of Gavin Sheets, who was a great college power hitter but hasn't hit in the major leagues with any consistency. And if you're taking guys that the White Sox got rid of, how good are those guys? So John, give me your opinion.
Well, remember last year we were going into spring training and we were like, who's going to play center field and left field, and then they got Profar, who was basically just dumped by the Rockies.
Sure.
And you're thinking, well, what's he going to do? And he had a great year. They put Jackson Merrill in center field and he was incredible. Connor Joe, the pride of Poway National Little League. So that's great to see him playing for his hometown team. Maybe he could be like another Profar kind of a guy, And then Jason Heyward to me is like the equivalent of a David Peralta, probably plays better defense in the outfield, but he's a lefty off the bench. And so that's cool.
He's a clubhouse presence guy. He had a lot of influence in that Dodger clubhouse. Didn't hit a great deal when the Dodgers picked him up, but he was a rock solid guy.
And then Gavin Sheets, I don't know much about, but this is kind of a tangent. You remember Andy Sheets?
Sure.
Remember Kevin Towers traded Andy Sheets to the Angels for Phil Nevin. Mm-hmm. And that was one of those dumpster dives that worked out real well for the Padres.
Yeah. So that's where we are as a roster. That's the latest as the Padres go to spring training. I mean, they've added, I'm trying to think, they have 28 non-roster invitees. So they've just signed, in essence, 5 journeyman major leaguer fringe guys, led by Jason Heyward all the way down the list to Martin Maldonado. They still have holes, but they got so many pitchers here that they're going to give an opportunity to. So I don't think in the big picture, the roster we have right now is the roster we're going to have maybe by opening day or the roster during the season. That's where we are.
AJ's still cooking, man. He's in the kitchen making something for us.
I concur. So you got a response. You're a baseball fan. Feel free to jump into the Fans Forum chat box. Give us your opinion just about this Padres situation.